My name is Carol Henderson. I'm 72 years old, and for the past year, I've been taking rideshare trips to my doctor's appointments 3 times a week. The same driver picked me up every single time. His name was Marcus, and I always gave him a generous tip. But one afternoon, everything changed. Marcus drove right past my house, locked the doors, and the words he said made my heart stop. "Mrs. Henderson, your home health aide has been stealing from you." But that's not the worst part. "Don't go inside alone. Tomorrow morning, I'll show you the proof." I need to tell you this story because what happened to me is happening to elderly people all across this country. And if sharing my nightmare prevents even one senior from being exploited, manipulated, and robbed in their own home, then reliving this horror will be worth every painful second. But before I continue, please hit that subscribe button for Golden and Grey Hub. Leave a comment below telling me where you're watching from and if you've ever worried about the people you let into your home. You won't believe how this unfolds. And I need to know that seniors out there understand the danger that can be lurking in the very person you hired to help you. Let me take you back to the beginning, to when my life changed forever. 18 months ago, I had a stroke. Not a massive one, thank God, but enough to leave my left side weaker than it used to be. I was 70 years old, living alone in the house my husband Frank and I bought 40 years ago in a quiet suburb of Phoenix. Frank died 5 years ago from Alzheimer's. Watching him fade away over those 7 years was the hardest thing I'd ever endured. By the time he passed, I was exhausted, grieving, and utterly alone. After the stroke, I spent 2 weeks in the hospital and another month in rehab. The doctors said I was lucky. I could still walk, talk, and think clearly, but I needed help. My balance wasn't great. I got tired easily, and certain tasks, like getting dressed or showering, had become difficult and sometimes dangerous. That's when the hospital social worker suggested I hire a home health aide, someone who could come a few times a week to help with personal care, light housekeeping, and medication management. Medicare would cover some of it, and I had enough savings to cover the rest. I interviewed 3 agencies. The one I chose, Sunrise Senior Care, seemed professional. They did background checks, they had good reviews online, and their rates were reasonable. They assigned me an aide named Vanessa Torres, 35 years old, friendly smile, certified nursing assistant credentials. She came with references and a clean background check. Vanessa started coming to my house 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings from 8 a.m. to noon. She'd help me shower and dress, prepare my meals, organize my medications, do light cleaning, and drive me to medical appointments when I had them. At first, everything seemed fine. Vanessa was pleasant, professional, and competent. She knew how to help me without making me feel helpless or embarrassed. She'd chat about her own mother, who'd also had health problems. She seemed to genuinely care. I lived on a fixed income, Social Security, Frank's pension, and some savings we'd accumulated over 45 years of marriage. We'd never been wealthy, but we'd been comfortable. Frank had been a high school teacher and I'd worked as a dental hygienist until I retired at 65. We'd paid off the house, invested carefully, and had about $180,000 in savings plus some stocks that Frank had bought years ago. Enough to see me through my remaining years without financial stress. Or so I thought. The thing about being elderly and needing help is that you become dependent. You start to trust the people who care for you because you have no choice. Vanessa had keys to my house. She knew my schedule. She knew where I kept my medications, my paperwork, my checkbook. She had access to everything, and I trusted her completely. About 3 months into our arrangement, I started needing more medical appointments. I was seeing a cardiologist for heart issues, a neurologist for stroke follow-up, and my regular doctor for diabetes management. 3 appointments a week, sometimes 4. I didn't drive anymore. After the stroke, my doctor had said it wasn't safe, so I'd been using rideshare apps to get to my appointments. That's how I met Marcus. Marcus Williams was 58 years old, a former postal worker who'd started driving for rideshare companies after he retired. He was African American, soft-spoken, with kind eyes and a gentle manner. The first time he picked me up, I was struggling to get into his car. He immediately got out, came around, and helped me settle into the back seat. He adjusted the air conditioning without me asking and drove carefully, no sudden stops or sharp turns. When we arrived at my doctor's office, he helped me out of the car and asked if I needed help getting to the door. I told him I was fine, but I appreciated his kindness. I tipped him $10 on top of the fare. His eyes widened. "Ma'am, You don't need to tip that much. Yes, I do, I said. You treated me with dignity. That's worth everything. The next appointment, I requested a ride and Marcus accepted it. Same gentle care, same careful driving. I tipped him $10 again. By the third ride, it became our routine. Marcus would pick me up, we'd chat about his grandchildren or my health, and I'd tip him generously. He'd wait in the parking lot during my appointments and drive me home after. Mrs. Henderson, he told me after about the fourth ride, you're one of my favorite passengers. Most people treat us drivers like we're invisible. You actually see me as a person. You are a person, I said. And you're helping an old lady maintain her independence. That deserves respect. Over the next few months, Marcus became a regular fixture in my life. 3, sometimes 4 rides a week to various doctor appointments. We developed a real rapport. He told me about his wife who taught kindergarten, his 3 adult children, his 5 grandchildren. I told him about Frank, about our 45-year marriage, about how lonely the house felt now. I always tipped him well. $10, sometimes $15. It added up, but I could afford it. And Marcus had become more than just a driver. He was one of the few people in my life who made me feel valued. Meanwhile, Vanessa continued her work at my house. She was always punctual, always pleasant. But looking back now, I realized there were signs. Small things I dismissed at the time. Items that seemed to move. I'd put my reading glasses on the kitchen counter, and later find them on the coffee table. I'd place my purse in the closet and find it hanging on the doorknob. I chalked it up to my post-stroke memory issues. The doctor had warned me I might be more forgetful. Bills that seemed higher than expected. My credit card statement showed charges I didn't remember making. Small amounts, $40 here, $75 there. I figured I'd ordered something online and forgotten about it. Old age and medication fog, right? Vanessa asking detailed questions about my finances. Where did I bank? Did I have investment accounts? What was my monthly income? She framed it as concern, saying she wanted to make sure I was managing okay. I appreciated what I thought was genuine care. Vanessa offering to help me with paperwork. She'd sort through my mail, help me balance my checkbook, organize my financial documents. I was grateful. Paperwork had become overwhelming since the stroke. Having someone handle it felt like a relief. I didn't know I was being groomed. That's what predators do. They identify vulnerable targets. They build trust. They position themselves as indispensable. They gain access to everything. And then they take. It was Marcus who first noticed something was wrong. He'd been driving me for about 6 months when he asked me, very carefully, Mrs. Henderson, is your home health aide named Vanessa? Yes, I said, surprised. How did you know? I've seen her at your house, he said slowly, coming and going on days that aren't her scheduled days. Once I saw her there on a Sunday evening, another time on a Thursday afternoon. I thought maybe her schedule had changed. My blood went cold. Numb. She only comes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. That's it. Marcus was quiet for a moment, his jaw tight. Mrs. Henderson, I need to tell you something, and I need you to stay calm. I've been noticing things that concern me. What things? 3 weeks ago, I dropped you off at home after your doctor's appointment. It was a Tuesday, around 3 p.m. Vanessa's car was in your driveway. I thought it was odd, but figured maybe she was covering an extra day. But then I saw her leave about 20 minutes later carrying a large bag. A bag that looked heavy. I felt sick. Marcus, are you sure? I'm sure. And it's happened 3 more times since then. Always on days she's not scheduled. Always when you're not home. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I wasn't sure what I was seeing, Marcus said. I didn't want to accuse someone wrongly. But Mrs. Henderson, yesterday something happened that made me certain I needed to say something. What happened? Yesterday, I happened to be in your neighborhood around lunchtime. I saw Vanessa's car at your house again. You weren't home because I'd just dropped you off at physical therapy. I decided to wait and watch. I parked down the street where I could see your front door. My hands were shaking. And? She was in your house for 45 minutes. When she came out, she was carrying 2 bags and a small box. She loaded everything into her trunk and drove away. I couldn't breathe. Marcus, I don't understand. Why would she be at my house when I'm not there? She has keys for emergencies, but she's not supposed to come on unauthorized days. Mrs. Henderson, Marcus said gently, I think she's stealing from you. The words hit me like a physical blow. Stealing. Vanessa, who helped me shower, who prepared my meals, who organized my pills, who I trusted with everything, was stealing from me. I need to go home, I said, my voice shaking. I need to go home right now and check. No, Marcus said firmly. Not yet. Not until we figure out what's going on. We were about 5 minutes from my house. I just finished a cardiology appointment and was supposed to be going home. Marcus, that's my house right there. Turn right. I know, he said. But I need you to trust me. Just like you've trusted me these past 6 months. I need you to listen. Something in his voice made me pause. Okay, I'm listening. Vanessa's car is parked 2 streets over from your house right now. I saw it when I picked you up. She's at your house, Mrs. Henderson. Right now. While you're supposed to be gone. The world tilted. How do you know? Because I've been watching, Marcus said quietly. For the past 2 weeks, I've been documenting when she shows up. I've been taking photos and videos. And today, I followed her car. She went to your house 20 minutes ago. Why? I was crying now. Why would you do that? Why would you watch my house? Because my mother went through something similar, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. 5 years ago, my mother had a home health aide who stole $60,000 from her over the course of a year. By the time we figured it out, the woman had disappeared, and my mother's savings were gone. My mother died 2 years ago, never financially recovering, never trusting anyone again. He paused, gripping the steering wheel. When I saw Vanessa at your house that first time on a day she shouldn't be there, carrying that bag, I got a bad feeling. A familiar feeling. So I started paying attention. And Mrs. Henderson, what I've seen over the past 2 weeks is a pattern. A pattern I recognize. What kind of pattern? She comes to your house on the days you have doctor's appointments. The days she knows you'll be gone for at least 2 hours. She goes inside and she stays for 30 to 45 minutes. And she always leaves with bags or boxes. I felt like I was going to be sick. Where are we going? Why aren't we going to my house? Because if she's there right now, I don't want you walking in on her. I don't want to tip her off that we know. We need evidence, Mrs. Henderson. We need to document this properly and then go to the police. The police, I repeated numbly. Yes. But first, I need to show you what I've been documenting. I need you to see what I've seen. Marcus drove to a coffee shop about 10 minutes from my house. He helped me inside, got me settled in a booth, and ordered me hot tea that I didn't want but held anyway because my hands needed something to do. Then he pulled out his phone. I'm going to show you photos and videos, he said gently. I need you to prepare yourself. This is going to be upsetting. He handed me his phone. The first photo was time-stamped from 2 weeks ago. It showed Vanessa's car in my driveway. The date stamp showed it was a Thursday. Vanessa didn't work on Thursdays. Next photo, Vanessa coming out of my front door carrying 2 large reusable shopping bags that appeared full and heavy. Next photo, Vanessa loading those bags into her trunk. I scrolled to the next image, and the next, and the next. Different days, same pattern. Vanessa at my house when she shouldn't be there. Vanessa carrying out bags, boxes, even a small piece of furniture that I recognized as the antique lamp from my bedroom. Keep scrolling, Marcus said softly. The next series of photos was from today. Today. Less than an hour ago. Vanessa's car in my driveway. Timestamp. 2:47 p.m. Vanessa entering my house. Timestamp. 2:49 p.m. She's still in there right now, Marcus said. I left to pick you up from your appointment because I knew I had to tell you today. I couldn't wait any longer. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I need to call the police. Right now? Yes, Marcus agreed. But there's something else I need to tell you first. What else could there possibly be? Marcus took a deep breath. Last week, I saw Vanessa meet someone in a parking lot near your house. She transferred bags from her trunk to another person's car. I took photos of that too. He scrolled to a new set of images. Vanessa in a grocery store parking lot. A man in his 30s approaching her car. Vanessa opening her trunk. The man taking bags from her trunk and loading them into his vehicle. I think she's selling your belongings, Marcus said quietly. I think she's been systematically stealing from you and selling what she takes. I couldn't process it. Couldn't comprehend that someone I'd trusted, someone I'd allowed into my home, someone who'd helped me with the most intimate aspects of my personal care, was robbing me blind. How much? I whispered. How much has she taken? I don't know, Marcus said. But based on how often she's been coming, how much she's carrying out, I think it's substantial. I called 911 right there in that coffee shop. My voice shaking, I explained to the dispatcher that I believed my home health aide was currently in my house stealing from me. The dispatcher asked if anyone was in danger. I said no, but someone was committing burglary right now. She said she'd send officers to my house immediately. Marcus and I drove back toward my house, but we parked down the street where we could see but not be seen. Within 10 minutes, 2 police cruisers pulled up. I watched as officers approached my door. I watched as Vanessa answered, looking confused and concerned. I watched as one officer went inside with her while the other stayed at the door. 5 minutes later, they brought Vanessa out. She was crying, protesting, saying there was some misunderstanding. She saw me standing there with Marcus, and her expression changed from fake confusion to something else. Something cold. The officers asked me to come identify myself and explain the situation. I walked up to my own house on shaking legs, Marcus steadying me. "Ma'am, are you Carol Henderson?" one officer asked. "Yes, this is my house. And that woman," I pointed at Vanessa, "is my home health aide. She's only supposed to be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. Today is Tuesday afternoon. She's not authorized to be here." "Mrs. Henderson," Vanessa started, her voice pleading. "I was just checking on you. I was worried when you didn't answer your phone." "I didn't call you," I said, my voice stronger than I expected. "And my phone is right here. No missed calls from you." The officer asked, "Ma'am, did you give her permission to be in your home today?" "No, absolutely not." "Is she allowed to take items from your home?" "No." The officer turned to Vanessa. "Ma'am, what are those bags in the living room?" I hadn't gone inside yet, but I could see through my open door 3 large bags sitting by my couch. Vanessa's face had gone pale. "Those are just things Mrs. Henderson asked me to take to donate. Old clothes and stuff. Is that true, Mrs. Henderson?" "No," I said firmly. "I never asked her to take anything." "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to come inside and identify if anything in those bags belongs to you," the officer said. Marcus helped me up my front steps and into my own living room. The officer opened the first bag. My jewelry box. The one Frank had given me on our 25th anniversary. Inside were pieces that had belonged to my mother and grandmother. Silver, some gold. Items of sentimental value if not significant monetary worth. The second bag held Frank's collection of vintage watches. He'd collected them for 30 years. Not expensive, but precious to me. The third bag contained photo albums. Photo albums of my entire life with Frank. Our wedding, our trips, our memories. "These are mine," I said, my voice breaking. "All of this is mine. I never gave her permission to take any of it." The officer's expression hardened. "Ma'am," he said to Vanessa, "you're under arrest for burglary." As they handcuffed her, Vanessa started screaming. "She gave those to me. She's old and confused. She doesn't remember. This is elder abuse." Arresting me for trying to help her. But her protests didn't match the evidence. Didn't match the fact that she was in my home on an unauthorized day, with bags packed and ready to go. The officers asked me to walk through my house and see if I noticed anything else missing. Marcus came with me, supporting me as we went room to room. My dining room. The silver candlesticks Frank's mother had given us were gone. My bedroom. Several pieces of jewelry I kept in my dresser were missing. The antique lamp Marcus had seen in photos was gone. My office. This was the worst. My filing cabinet was open. Papers were strewn about. And my checkbook, my bank statements, my investment account statements, everything financial, was gone. "Officer," I called out, my voice trembling. She took all my financial papers. The detective who arrived shortly after, a woman named Sarah Mitchell, was probably in her mid-50s. She had a kind face but sharp eyes. She took my statement, looked at Marcus's photos and videos, and listened carefully to everything we told her. "Mrs. Henderson," she said, "I'm going to be very honest with you. What we've caught today is just the tip of the iceberg. Based on what you're telling me about missing financial documents, I believe you're a victim of financial exploitation in addition to burglary." "What does that mean?" "It means she wasn't just stealing your physical possessions. She was likely stealing money directly from your accounts. We need to check your bank accounts, credit cards, investment accounts, everything, immediately." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial my bank. Marcus held my phone steady while I tried to navigate the automated system. When I finally got through to a human, I explained that I needed to check my accounts because I believed someone had been stealing from me. The bank representative put me on hold. And hold. And hold. Finally, she came back on the line. "Mrs. Henderson, I'm seeing some irregularities in your checking account. Multiple withdrawals over the past 6 months that seem unusual. Can you tell me if you authorized withdrawals to something called VT Consulting Services? No? I've never heard of that. There have been 18 withdrawals to that account, ranging from $500 to $1,200 each. Total of $14,300. I nearly collapsed. Marcus caught me and helped me sit down. There are also several checks written to cash in amounts of $800 to $2,000. 7 checks total, $10,500. I didn't write those, I said, my voice barely a whisper. And there are charges on your credit card to various stores totaling approximately $8,700 over the past 4 months. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Over $33,000 stolen from my accounts. Detective Mitchell took the phone from me and spoke with the bank representative directly, explaining this was now part of a criminal investigation. She told me I needed to file a fraud report with the bank immediately, and contact my investment firm to check those accounts too. The investment account was worse. Vanessa had somehow gained access and transferred $27,000 out over the past 5 months. Small transfers that hadn't triggered automatic alerts. $3,000 here, $5,000 there. In total, over $60,000 stolen. $60,000 of my life savings, the money Frank and I had worked 45 years to build, gone. Detective Mitchell explained that Vanessa had likely been forging my signature on checks, using my credit cards when she had access to my purse, and had somehow obtained my account numbers and passwords to make electronic transfers. How? I asked. How did she get all that information? You trusted her, Detective Mitchell said gently. You let her help you with paperwork. She saw your bank statements, your account numbers. She probably watched you enter passwords or found them written down. She had keys to your house and access to everything. That's all she needed. I felt so stupid, so violated, so utterly betrayed. Mrs. Henderson, Marcus said quietly, this is not your fault. You needed help. You hired someone who came with credentials and references. You did everything right. She's a predator. This is what predators do. Detective Mitchell nodded. He's right. We see this constantly with home health aides and caregivers. They target vulnerable elderly people, build trust, gain access, and then systematically rob them blind. You're not the first victim. And unfortunately, you probably won't be the last. Over the next several hours, we documented everything. Every missing item. Every fraudulent transaction. Every unauthorized entry into my home. Detective Mitchell also checked Vanessa's background more thoroughly. The background check Sunrise Senior Care had run was cursory at best. When police dug deeper, they found 2 previous complaints from elderly clients at other agencies. Both complaints alleged theft, but neither had resulted in prosecution because the victims hadn't had enough evidence. I had evidence. Thanks to Marcus, I had photos, videos, timestamps, documentation. And thanks to his insistence that we handle this carefully, we'd caught Vanessa in the act. Vanessa was charged with burglary, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, identity theft, and fraud. The DA explained that financial exploitation of elderly victims carried enhanced penalties. If convicted, she could face 10 to 15 years in prison. But the legal process was just beginning, and the personal trauma was overwhelming. I had to cancel all my credit cards and bank accounts. I had to file fraud reports with multiple institutions. I had to work with the bank to try to recover stolen funds, though they warned me that recovery was unlikely in cases like this. I had to find a new home health aide, but I was terrified to let anyone into my house. I ended up hiring through a different agency that did more extensive background checks and required 2-person teams so aides were never alone with clients. I had to install security cameras throughout my house. I had to change all my locks. I had to secure every piece of financial information. But mostly, I had to deal with the emotional devastation of realizing that someone I'd trusted, someone who'd helped me bathe and dress, someone who'd seen me at my most vulnerable, had been robbing me the entire time. The trial took almost a year. Vanessa's public defender tried to argue that I'd given her permission to handle my finances, that I was confused and forgetful due to my stroke, that this was all a misunderstanding. But the evidence was overwhelming. Marcus's photos and videos showing Vanessa at my house on unauthorized days, bank records showing fraudulent transactions, the bags of stolen items found in my house, and testimony from 2 other elderly victims who came forward after hearing about the case. One of those victims was an 80-year-old man with Parkinson's disease. Vanessa had stolen $35,000 from him. The other was a 76-year-old woman with dementia. Vanessa had taken $50,000 from her. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all charges. At the sentencing hearing, I gave my victim impact statement. I'd prepared for weeks, working with a victim's advocate to find the right words. Your Honor, I began, my voice steady despite the tears streaming down my face. Vanessa Torres didn't just steal my money. She stole my dignity. She violated my trust in the most profound way possible. I let this woman into my home because I needed help, because I was vulnerable after a stroke, because I was alone and scared and needed someone to care for me. I looked at Vanessa, who sat emotionless at the defense table. She saw my vulnerability and she exploited it. She helped me shower while planning how to rob me. She organized my medications while forging my signature on checks. She smiled and chatted with me while transferring money from my accounts. My voice broke, but I continued. That $60,000 she stole wasn't just money. It was my security. It was the cushion that allowed me to age with dignity. It was 45 years of my husband and me working and saving and planning, and she took it. She took it while pretending to care about me. I turned back to the judge. I'm 72 years old. I live on a fixed income. I will never be able to replace what she stole. I will spend the rest of my life financially stressed because of what she did. But more than the money, she stole my ability to trust. I'm afraid of everyone now. I can't let anyone help me without suspecting them. I've isolated myself because I'm terrified of being victimized again. The judge sentenced Vanessa to 12 years in prison. Upon release, she'd be barred from ever working in healthcare or elder care again. She'd have to pay full restitution, though the DA told me realistically, I'd probably never see that money. 12 years. It felt like both too much and not enough. Too much in that it was a long time to spend in prison. Not enough in that no sentence could undo what she'd done to me and to the other victims. After the sentencing, Marcus and I sat in his car outside the courthouse. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, financially devastated, but also, strangely, relieved that it was finally over. How are you doing? Marcus asked gently. I don't know, I admitted. I should feel better now that she's been convicted. But I just feel empty. That's normal, Marcus said. Justice doesn't undo trauma. It just prevents more trauma. I looked at him, this man who'd been my rideshare driver, who'd become my protector, who'd saved me from even worse devastation. Marcus, I need you to understand something. If you hadn't noticed her car at my house that first time, if you hadn't paid attention and documented everything, I would never have known. She would have continued stealing until I had nothing left. You saved me. I just did what was right, Marcus said. No, I said firmly. You did what most people wouldn't do. You got involved. You took time out of your life to protect a stranger. You documented evidence for weeks. You risked your job by spending time watching my house instead of taking rides. You are a hero, Marcus. My hero. Marcus's eyes were wet. My mother died feeling scared and violated and broke. I couldn't save her. But maybe I could save you. Maybe that's why I noticed. Maybe that's why I couldn't let it go. We sat in silence for a moment, both of us crying, both of us dealing with our own pain and healing. Today, as I'm recording this story, it's been 18 months since everything happened. Vanessa is in prison. I've recovered a small portion of the stolen money through victim restitution programs and insurance, but most of it is gone forever. I still live in my house. I have new home health aides who come as a 2-person team. I still use Rideshare to get to medical appointments, and Marcus still drives me whenever he can. He's become one of my closest friends. We have coffee once a week. He checks on me regularly. His wife has become my friend too. They've invited me to family gatherings, and I've met all 5 of their grandchildren. I'm okay. Not great, not fully healed, but okay. I'm in therapy working through the trust issues and the trauma. I'm financially stressed, but managing. I've connected with other victims of elder financial abuse, and we support each other. I want everyone watching this to understand something crucial. Elder financial abuse is epidemic. It's estimated that seniors lose $3 billion a year to financial exploitation, and that's just the reported cases. Most victims never report because they're embarrassed or they don't realize what's happening until it's too late. Home health aides, caregivers, and even family members are the most common perpetrators. They have access, opportunity, and victims who are vulnerable and trusting. Please, if you're elderly and need help, protect yourself. Never give anyone unsupervised access to your financial information. Keep your bank statements, checkbooks, and account numbers secured. Never sign blank checks or give anyone signature authority on your accounts unless absolutely necessary and through proper legal channels. Monitor your accounts regularly. Check every statement. Investigate any transactions you don't recognize immediately. Install security cameras in your home so you can see what's happening when you're not there. Have a trusted friend or family member who regularly reviews your finances with you. If something feels wrong, if items are missing, if your aide is asking too many questions about your finances, trust your instincts. Report it. And for those of you who are like Marcus, who see something that doesn't seem right, please speak up. Get involved. Document what you see. You might save someone's life savings. You might prevent an elderly person from being completely devastated. The world has predators in it who specifically target vulnerable seniors. But the world also has protectors. People who pay attention. People who care. People like Marcus who will fight for strangers. If you're watching this and you're caring for an elderly parent or relative, please monitor their accounts. Look for red flags. Many elderly people are too embarrassed to admit they're being stolen from, or they don't realize it's happening. If this story resonated with you or frightened you, please share it. It could protect someone's grandparent or parent. Subscribe to Golden and Grey Hub for more safety information and true stories about elder health and safety. Comment below if you've experienced financial exploitation or if you've ever had someone look out for you the way Marcus looked out for me. Stay vigilant. Protect your elderly loved ones. And never underestimate the danger that can come from the very people you hire to help you. My name is Carol Henderson. I'm 72 years old. I'm a survivor of elder financial abuse. And I'm here to tell you that healing is possible, that justice exists, and that there are good people in this world like Marcus who will protect you when you need it most. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for caring. And please, if you're elderly or if you love someone who is, protect your financial information like your life depends on it, because it does.